Your NoTouch cleaning system comes complete with a black box assembly. On the back of the unit, on this particular model, you'll see the black box. Inside of the black box is where we house and store all of our mechanical components. Everything from switches to valves to our pump assembly and our vacuum recovery system. If you have determined that one of the components inside of the black box is damaged and needs to be replaced, or conduct a black box swap, we're going to show you in this next section how to remove the black box assembly and package it up and get it ready for shipment or transfer. To replace or remove our black box assembly, there are a couple steps that we have to do first to prepare. Number one, we're going to have to remove our pressure hose. Secondly, remove any chemistry that's hanging on the unit. And then lastly, we're going to remove our electrical cord so that the black box is free and clear from the unit. To begin, we're going to remove our pressure hose from the unit, place it in our hand, and store it off to the side to be used on our new replacement black box. Once we've removed all of our pressure hose, we then want to disconnect our pressure hose from the unit at our quick disconnect valve. To remove the pressure hose from the disconnect valve, we're going to simply pull up on the ferrule and then lift the hose straight up, and it is disconnected from the unit itself. We're going to place that off to the side. Next, we're going to make sure that there's no chemistry on the black box because the black box will be laid down. So we're just going to unscrew our cap, remove our chemistry from the unit, and set it to the side. Just as we remove the pressure hose, we're going to simply take off the electrical cord from the unit. Just as the pressure hose had a quick disconnect to release it from the unit, so does the electrical cord. Once we get to the final wrap, we're going to simply just unplug it from the unit and remove it and set it to the side. Our final step in removing the black box is to disconnect our vacuum intake hose from the top of the unit. You just simply pull it off. There are 6 thumb screws holding the black box to the unit itself. 2 are on the top of the unit. 2 will be on each side of the unit, top and bottom. Begin disassembling and removing the black box. We're going to start by removing the 2 thumb screws on the top of the unit. We unscrew those and set those off to the side. Next, we're going to remove the top yellow screw from both sides of the black box unit. Just as we did the top screws, we just simply unscrew them and set them to the side. Now that we've removed all the thumb screws, pressure hose, vacuum hose, any kind of chemical lines, chemistry itself, it's now time to lay the black box down on this back side. So to do that, we just pull back on the black box. It'll just lay down for us flat. And inside of the assembly itself are all the working components. Now that the black box is in the down position, we have the ability to go internally and fix anything ourselves, replace a component or a part, or we can begin the next step of the actual black box swap itself. So let's take a look at that. The pump system has 2 lines for water. One is our intake or suction line that draws in fresh water from the water tank, and our second is our return line. Any water that's not used in the pump gets returned into the water tank itself. To remove these hoses, we just loosen our clamps, slide our clamps out of the way, and then remove our hose from our barbs. Now that we've removed the return line, we're going to focus on removing the intake line itself. So down at the bottom, just as we did the return line, we're going to loosen our clamp system, slide it out of the way, and remove our intake hose. Now that the black box is in the down position and all hoses and cords are disconnected, our last screws will be our bottom 2 screws that hold the wheel system in place. So we unscrew those thumb screws, and now the unit is ready to be removed. Now that the black box is free and clear from the unit itself, we have the ability to slide it off and then replace it with the new one. Once you receive your new black box, save the box that it comes in, because that's the box you'll use to ship back the old black box. Now we're going to talk about how to reassemble and attach the new black box. Now that we have our new black box in position and ready, we're going to put it up to the back of the unit, and then we're going to slide it into place. Once we've slid the black box into place, we want to line up our holes with our axle rod, and then take our thumb screw and reattach it. So working in reverse order, our next step is to attach our water intake line. You'll notice that the water intake line and the water return line are not the same size. This eliminates any confusion on which hose goes to which barb. Once our hose is in place, we're going to slide our clamp back down and retighten our clamp to our pressure line. Next step, we're going to now replace our return line back onto our barb system. Attach it to the barb, and then tighten our clamp system around the brass barb. With our bottom metal bracket attached and all of our hoses reassembled to the unit, now it's time to raise the black box up into position. We want to lift up slightly onto the unit itself to allow for alignment of the black box into the unit. Once we have our unit lifted up and in place, we're going to flip up our black box, line up our holes, primarily the keyholes, in with the unit, and we're now ready to screw it back in place. Lastly, we're going to attach and reassemble our screws on the top of the black box. We're now ready to reassemble our vacuum intake hose. We just simply place it in the up position and reattach it to our vacuum elbow. Now that the black box is back up in place and set and ready, all hoses are attached in cords, all screws are in place, it's now time to reassemble our electrical cord. To reassemble, we just simply plug the system in, wrap our cords up, and get them out of the way. Now it's time to reassemble our pressure hose. So with our barb coming out of the black box, we're going to attach our pressure hose to the barb by loosening up the ferrule on top, pulling it towards us, and sliding the hose down in place, ensuring that this is locked and pushed in the down position. Give a little tug, make sure that it's in place. Now it's time to wrap our pressure hose. After we've assembled our black box unit, we want to put some water in, turn on our pumps, make sure we have no leaks, make sure our pump primes, make sure our vacuum works, etc. And we're ready to go. So that completes our section on black box swap and black box replacement.